So, have you ever looked at a massive cloud environment and just wondered what separates the ones that run smoothly from, well, the ones that are a total mess? It really all comes down to the architecture. Okay, so today let's dive into exactly how you can turn that first spark of an idea, that napkin sketch, into a rock solid digital skyscraper.
Just picture it for a second. I mean, really picture it. Every single app, all your customer data, every developer you have, all just thrown into one giant, chaotic digital room. You've got the marketing team's new, untested campaign running right next to your mission critical production database. It sounds like an absolute nightmare, doesn't it?
Well, you'd be surprised how often this happens. We call it the one giant project problem. And honestly, it's a silent killer for growth. When everything's jumbled together, security becomes a total guessing game. Costs just spiral out of control because you have no idea what's running where. And your developers, they get stuck in these digital traffic jams, which just grinds your innovation to a halt. It's not going to scale. The only way to fix it is with a proper blueprint. And that blueprint is actually built right into the structure of Google Cloud itself. So instead of that one messy room, we're going to build a super organized, multi-level digital skyscraper. Now, the whole foundation for this thing really rests on three core pieces that build on each other. It all starts with the organization, then you have folders, and finally, projects. Let's break down what each one actually does. So first up, at the very, very top, you have the organization. I want you to think of this as the entire skyscraper itself. It's the one single thing that represents your whole company and the cloud. Everything, and I mean everything you build, is going to live inside this one top-level structure. Okay, next up, we have folders. And if the organization is the skyscraper, you can probably guess, folders are the individual floors. This is how you start to create some real separation and order. You can have one floor for your engineering team, a totally separate floor for marketing, and maybe another one for all the shared tools that everyone in the building needs to use. And that brings us to the most fundamental level, projects. These are the secure rooms on each and every floor. This is where your actual apps, your databases, your services, this is where they live and run. The beauty is that each project is its own little self-contained world with its own resources and its own security, kind of like having a specific keycard to get into each room. All right, so we've got the building, we've got the floors, and we've got the rooms. But how do we actually decide who gets which floor? And where do we put all the rooms? Well, this is where some proven architectural design patterns come into play. There are a few tried and true ways to do this. The most common is just grouping by your business teams. So you give engineering their own folder, marketing theirs, and so on. It's also super powerful to create a shared services folder for all the common stuff, like networking or logging tools. And this is a big one. You have to separate your production and development environments. That one move can prevent a single developer's mistake from accidentally taking down your entire business. Let's make this real. So check out this example of a typical tech company. They've got an engineering folder, that's a floor. Inside that folder, they have two separate projects, or rooms, one for their live production app and another one for all the development work. Then they have a whole other floor, a shared services folder, with a project inside it that just handles the networking for the entire company. You see how clean and logical that is? It creates a structure that's not just organized, but way more secure. Now, having a great structure is, believe it or not, only half the battle. Now we gotta set the house rules. We need to decide who can go where and what they're actually allowed to do once they're inside. And this is handled by two really important but different systems. First, you have IAM, Identity and Access Management. IAM is all about who. It's like being the security guard handing out keycards. You give specific people access to specific rooms. But then you have organization policies. These are all about what. Think of these as the building's fire code. These are the universal rules that everyone has to follow, no matter what keycard they have. Things like, nobody is allowed to create a public storage bucket, period. And here is the magic, the really powerful part. These policies, they're inherited. That means if you set a rule on a folder, on one of the skyscraper's floors, that rule automatically applies to every single project, every single room on that floor. This is a game changer for managing permissions at scale. You just set the rules at the highest level you can, and they just flow all the way down, so efficient. Okay, so as you go to design your own digital skyscraper, I want you to keep three golden rules in mind. If you follow these, you're going to be in great shape.
Golden rule number one, establish clear ownership. Every single project, every single room in that building has to have a designated owner. This makes sure that there's always someone responsible for what's inside. No abandoned rooms, gathering dust, becoming security risks, or quietly costing you money.
Rule number 2, and this one is absolutely critical for security. Always use the principle of least privilege. What that means is you only give people the exact permissions they need to do their job and absolutely nothing more. You hand out specific key cards for specific rooms. You don't just hand out the master key to the entire building. And the final rule brings us right back to where we started. Avoid that one giant project problem at all costs. You have to remember, a well-planned structure isn't just some nice to have, it's not optional. It is the absolute foundation of a secure, cost-effective, and efficient cloud. So, I'll leave you with this question. Take a good hard look at your own cloud setup. Are you building a digital skyscraper on a solid foundation? Or are you still just working off of a messy old napkin sketch? Because the answer to that question could very well define the future of your company's entire digital strategy.